Hello, and welcome to this month's Safety Minute. For this month's Safety Minute, I want to talk about living in an endemic with COVID. Now, to be clear, this is probably going to be the most controversial Safety Minute I've ever made, because not everybody deals with COVID the same way, and that's okay. Because we're not all the same. Some of us are elderly. Some of us do have compromised immune systems. Some of us have loved ones that we meet regularly that have compromised immune systems. And because of that, we take on different precautions on how to protect ourselves from COVID. Now, before we get into the safety minute, though, we have to understand what safety is. You see, safety, the whole reason we created this entity called safety was so that we can live our life fully while controlling the risk around us. So that means that we can work, we can drive, we can meet the people we love, we can do the things we love to do and control the risk and not get injured or minimize injuries to us. Safety was not there to stop work, to stop driving, to stop living, to stop having fun. It wasn't ever designed for that. A good example of this is I always use dirt biking for an example. If you're one that likes to ride a dirt bike and take massive jumps and do these huge, amazing tricks, that's cool. Good on you. I say go for it. 100%. But all I ask is you put the proper precautions in place prior to doing those things. So know the track. Take a few warm-up laps. Have the right personal protective equipment on. Have a bike that can handle what it's about to be put through. Make sure you have a phone in case something goes wrong that you can call for emergency help. Don't ride alone so that you have someone that can call for you and ride to your ability. And when you put all those precautions in place, go have fun. Live your life. Do what you love to do. Because that's what safety was designed to do. I recently ran an experiment on myself. After 2.5 years of COVID, I finally was able to have a full regiment of work. And I had 5 weeks where I literally took 30 flights, met thousands of people. I've been in 2 different countries, and I can't tell you how many hands I shook, how many pictures I took with people, how many conversations I had with people. And I want to measure, can I fully live my life, which is what safety is meant for, and not get sick? And the answer I found was yes. Yes, I can. I didn't get a cold, I didn't get a flu, I didn't get any COVID, I didn't catch anything. Although I know I was exposed to all those diseases and viruses and even probably more. But I didn't stay healthy by chance. I put those proper precautions in place. The first precaution I put into place was I actually have all 4 vaccines. Now I know that vaccines are controversial and that's fine. But if you look at me and what I've been through, I had a 5% chance to live, and the health system saved my life. Believe me, I have a little bit of faith when it comes to listening to doctors. So when it comes that they ask me to take a vaccine, I put my trust in doctors who have already saved my life once. The other reason I took the vaccine is because I can't control what the governments are going to do on crossing the border. So I wanted to make sure that I was ahead of whatever controls they put into place so that I could ensure that I could go live my life, be able to provide for my family and do the things that I love to do and have to do. The second precaution I took was I also wore masks when I was on a plane. Every single one of those 30 flights, I wore a mask. Now, the reason I did those because from a safety perspective, when you're in a confined space, a closed space like an aircraft, and you can't, the particles are building up, the viruses and things are building up around you, it makes sense to wear a mask. Now, granted, when the airplane's running, it has an amazing air system. But when it's boarding and deplaning and the plane's not running, it's a very closed system. And not only are the particulates building up in the air, which from a safety perspective, the parts per billion is a massive thing on how much exposure you're having to these things. I also couldn't control the distance I had between the next person. In fact, we were usually shoulder to shoulder. And I knew I was going to be in those environments for long periods of time. So because I was going to be in there for a long time and have high exposure to these particulates while not be able to control the distance from me to the next person, it made sense to wear a mask. Granted though, when I left the airplane, I was in a completely different environment. I had massive ceilings with excellent ventilation. I wasn't being stuck beside someone for hours. In fact, it was just seconds that I was passing them, and I could control my distance for them. So in that instance, I didn't see the need for the mask. And the third thing I did was after every presentation, I shook lots of hands. I took pictures with people, had a lot of conversations, and when it was all said and done, I was very cognizant not to touch my face. But first I would go to the hand sanitizer, and I hand sanitize my hands and disinfect them, because I guarantee you that I met people and shook their hands that had a cold and a flu and COVID and who knows what else. But it didn't mean that I had to completely ignore the fact that my hands were touching theirs, getting contaminated possibly, and then getting myself sick. So I'd disinfect my hands, and then I'd go live my life. And doing those three things, from being vaccinated, wearing masks in a closed environment, and from hand sanitizing after shaking people's hands, I completely prevented any illness for myself. We don't need to go to phenomenal ways of controlling risk. In fact, I have a rule, and that is safety is not hard. It usually takes very simple solutions on being able to control the risk so that we can live our lives. And I hope that when it comes to living in an endemic with you, that you also will assess those times on how you're going to live your life with these viruses out there, so that you can protect yourself and your family, your loved ones, the healthcare system, and complete strangers. The viruses will always be with us. And COVID, whether you like it or not, is going to be here now and forever. But it doesn't mean it needs to add up to something to you. You can protect yourself from these things. Just be aware of the risk. Put the proper controls in place, and then live your life fully. We don't need to close economies. We don't need to isolate. We don't need to stop loved ones from seeing each other. We don't need to separate people from being essential and non-essential. What we need to do is find that balance from those extreme positions and come to the middle and find the balance on how to live with this risk so we can live our lives fully. I hope you enjoyed this Safety Minute. If you want more videos like this, please hit the subscribe button. If you want to bring me out to your workplace, go to spencerspeaks.ca. And until the next Safety Minute, stay safe.